What's up fellas, Moon here. I'm switching things up and taking more of a commentary style since I find that's more up my alley. Today we're talking about being terminally online and unfortunately its very real effects of how it changes the way we think and perceive the world around us. I wanted to make this video to shed light on something that I'm extremely concerned about as this problem only seems to be getting significantly worse. So for an example, I want to take at a YouTuber known as In Praise of Shadows as reference to what I'm referring to when I say terminally online. In my own words, it's someone who is so enveloped by social media, and I mean the type that spends a majority of their day on social media, that they become blind to the realities of the world around them. This changes the way they interact with people and changes their worldview by narrowing their lens so much to where they become tribalistic and view any opposing viewpoint as hostile. Recently, In Praise of Shadows uploaded a video titled Bad Conservative Horror Movies, where he spends a good chunk of the video utilizing it as a hit piece towards several other content creators such as Wendigoon, Mutahar, Oompaville, and the like. While this guy's claims are completely unfounded, easily disproved, and he largely has become a laughingstock of the internet, I want to talk about the more concerning aspect of this YouTuber. That being, there are several more people like this individual, and the number of people being consumed by this type of thought process is something we should take note of. Let's get started. First, I want to discuss Zane's sweeping generalization of all of Appalachia, and how he attempts to use this as an argument to claim that Wendigoon is somehow racist because he lives there.
Deep Appalachia is very white country, and for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise.
Already we're off to an interesting start. So the main reason why I picked this clip is to talk about the sweeping generalizations conveyed. That 1, every person in this part of the United States is racist. 2, the concept that being in a region where the majority of the population is white equals being racist. And 3, being white means you're racist. When you speak in a manner such as this, it makes you look uninformed and unintelligent, as not only are you opening yourself up to being easily disproved, this line of reasoning will over time lead to more and more radical beliefs about groups of people. Not only is radicalization bad for obvious reasons, but this line of thinking hijacks the way you think to where it will incite fear, anxiety, or anger over completely benign scenarios. When this sort of brain rot consumes your mind, you begin to view an entire group of people as one thing and make snap judgments about their character whenever you see them. Social media, unfortunately, is designed with algorithms in mind that will make us as engaged as a user as possible. As anger is by far one of the most powerful and engaging emotions we experience, content that capitalizes on that is pushed to the top, whereas content that promotes nuance and rational discussion are often buried. It's why it seems like whenever a YouTuber you don't like makes an inflammatory or distasteful statement, you end up watching 8 different YouTube videos on the subject matter and commit around an hour and a half to listening about that one event alone. Sensationalism is both high in supply and high in demand. The next thing I want to talk about is by far the most concerning point.
One of his biggest crimes against horror to me is that he sat down to be a guest on the Ben Shapiro show. You know, the old 1940s phrase that roughly goes, if you have 10 people and 1 Nazi willingly sitting down for a meal together, then all you have is 11 Nazis. So, if one film executive sits down with a fascist for a civil conversation, then all you have are 2 fascists being broadcast over the internet.
Zane claims that if you're having a discussion with someone who has opposing viewpoints as yourself, you are inherently evil and magically adopt the viewpoint of whoever you're speaking to. In the free marketplace of ideas, if your ideology is sufficient and worth people taking a vested interest in, then it should be able to stand on its merit in the face of other ideologies. While the radicals on both sides of the political aisle try to restrict your access to other ideas, I find this to be a more prominent feature of the radical left in the online space, and have especially seen this firsthand in the World of Warcraft Twitter space. These people will try to say anything to make you avoid having a productive conversation with someone who disagrees with you. They'll try to label any differing opinion as harmful and use that as a justification to censor it, while labeling their own opinions as correct. Again, if you believe your ideas are correct, then you should be able to prove why that is in the face of other ideas. The people that are so adamant of censorship of other viewpoints are the same people arguing for terrible radical ideas and are trying to gaslight you into believing otherwise. This is why I'm such a proponent of free speech regardless of how distasteful an idea is, because if it's a horrible idea, it should be scrutinized in the public eye. Trying to block people from expressing an opinion only makes the people holding it feel vindicated and further radicalizes them. What's crazy too, right, is I don't know how many of you follow World of Warcraft here, since this may cater towards new viewers, but the roleplay community within World of Warcraft has several members that will follow you on Twitter and comb through your likes to see if you like any post they deem as harmful or offensive. Do you know how much mental illness you have to harbor to do that? The way to actually better society is to have more open and honest discussions about ideas and their merits, not less. As someone who's center right, Some of the most productive and insightful chats I've had were with my center-left friends, because we were able to have an open dialogue without fear of someone turning emotionally volatile and calling us a slew of false accusations. When you ask questions and approach a conversation with empathy, you get more out of it and feel refreshed. People act so impulsively online and never learn how to fight off that feeling of their blood boiling, and this translates to insane levels of immaturity in real life. It's part of why the world feels crazier now than ever. People like Zane are so disconnected from reality where he will paint people with a slew of accusations or perform guilt by association without actually looking into the people he's accusing first. Additionally, these people are so disillusioned that they outcast people who would normally be on their own side and label them as radicals or far right, when they're simply willing to challenge the insanity of their worldview. Zane labels center-left YouTubers Mudahar and Shoeonhead as far right because they don't subscribe to the exact one-for-one ideology he does. But that's not even the worst aspect. Let me play some more clips of this video to show you more how he operates.
Horror is an intrinsically left, punk, anti-establishment, countercultural art form that is primarily concerned with social issues and pushing boundaries beyond what is deemed acceptable by traditional, more conservative, polite society. There's no other way that you can rationally look at it and still exist within reality. Folks constantly talk about the political undertones of my videos, but horror is an unabashedly political genre that is concerned directly with issues facing the current society. And if you're in the horror space and you don't regularly acknowledge this foundation as a challenge to power, then I just assume you're in it for the money, or that you don't actually care, or you're just really bad at your job. And if that makes you uncomfortable or upset that I often do that in my videos, that's probably a good thing.
I think by far the most concerning aspect of people similar to Zane are their snarky and conceited demeanor with how they carry themselves and how they speak. Not only do they carry incredibly insane and detached views of how they see the world and people like you and I, the worst part is, they feel completely vindicated and justified in their beliefs, and they're gonna let you know about it too. They will completely absolve themselves from any responsibility if you have a distasteful reaction to their shitty beliefs, and try to frame it as you being the problem for not seeing their warped sense of reality as absolute fact. While generally physiognomy, that being the method of gauging someone's personality from their appearance, is viewed as rather tacky or prejudiced by today's standards, one can't help but make the observation that a lot of the smug leftist YouTubers share a similar appearance. Specifically when it comes to the signature mustache and a conceited, snarky tone are characteristics that these people share. I generally categorize people like Zane in the same boat as other content creators like Noah Samson and Hassan Piker in both appearance and behavior, as they all perpetuate the same uninformed and radical beliefs while making it seem like they're the ones on moral high ground. The physiognomy point I'm bringing up has no actual weight in my argumentation, but I find it to be a fascinating phenomena still observable in 2024. Even after everything backfired and blew up in his face, Zane still believes his false accusations of all the creators mentioned are correct and will not back down from them. The main takeaway I want to convey here is this: I'm not as concerned with the content creators themselves as I am with the massive followings that they are able to gather with cult-like fan bases which echo the same behaviors as them. While a lot of their fan bases seem to be teenagers or young adults, we can't excuse this line of thinking, and we need to do better with calling it out and putting this behavior in front of the public to see. We need to do better with calling out false accusations, snap character judgments, and moral grandstanding whenever it happens, and we need to remain classy with it too. The last thing we want to do is stoop down to their level, as rather than iron sharpening iron, we would instead be pouring gasoline on a fire that would consume the world. And don't get me wrong, I think the radical right should be equally called out as these radical leftists online. The main reason why my attention is more fixated on the radical left as of now is because they hold more online cultural power. Ideally, we work towards a society where people have differences, yet are able to put it aside for other shared connections such as hobbies, community, and a greater sense of purpose. But for now, we have to work on ourselves as individuals, be a positive influence for the people around us, and call out this insane behavior when we see it. I'm actually proud of the commentary community with how they've handled this situation thus far, and wanted to give a shout out to those who brought this to light. If you like this sort of style and are new here, it'd mean a ton to me if you subscribed and left a like. But until next time, this is Moon, working to bridge the gap with our culture, and signing out.